After a brief progress in the IDF-Hamas hostage deal, the militant group on February 10 said that it would stop releasing the Israeli hostages until further notice. The decision came over the alleged violation of ceasefire agreement by Israel. The allegation against Israel and delayed exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners raises the risk of reigniting the conflict. The Hamas military wing spokesperson said that Israeli violations include delaying Palestinians from returning to northern Gaza, targeting Palestinians with Israeli shelling and gunfire, and stopping aid from entering the Strip. As per the Times of Israel, Defense Minister Israel Katz responded to Hamas's announcement, calling it an outright violation of the ceasefire. He further said that he has instructed the IDF to prepare at the highest level of alert for any possible scenario in Gaza and to protect the border communities. Katz boldly stated that Israel would not return to the reality of October 7th. Following the developments, United States President Donald Trump issued an ultimatum to Hamas that if all the hostages held in Gaza are not returned by Saturday, he would propose cancelling the Israel-Hamas ceasefire and letting all hell break loose.
Well, I would say this, and I'm going to let that because that's Israel's decision, but as far as I'm concerned, if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday, and if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, I would say all hell is going to break out. And I don't think they're going to do it. I think a lot of them are dead. I think a lot of the hostages are dead. I think it's a great human tragedy what's happened, how people can be that mean to do. I'm speaking for myself. Israel can override it, but from myself, Saturday at 12 o'clock, and if they're not here, all hell is going to break out.
It is to be noted that the Palestinian militant group was set to release more Israeli hostages on February 8 in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and other Palestinians held in Israeli detention, as had been happening over the last 3 weeks. It is also noteworthy that the Israeli Defense Forces blew up several buildings in the occupied West Bank on February 2, days ahead of the negotiation on the second phase of hostage-prisoner exchange was due on February 4. The IDF grounded around 20 buildings in the Jenin refugee camp as per the Palestinian state news agency. The demolition of the buildings was carried out in precise simultaneous explosions that reduced the buildings to ruins. The bombardment amid the truce triggered Hamas, who called for an escalation in the resistance against Israeli defense forces. So far, 16 of the 33 hostages to be released in the first 42-day phase of the deal have come home. An additional 5 Thai hostages were returned in an unscheduled release. In exchange, Israel has released hundreds of prisoners and detainees. The unexpected announcement comes amid growing doubts over an already fragile ceasefire that has largely held since it began on January 19. Although there have been some incidents in which Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces and Hamas delays in providing names of hostages it planned to free. Talks began last week on the second stage of the ceasefire deal, but have shown little sign of serious progress.